A free climber faces a second death-defying feat on the way down.
One bad decision could be the difference between life and death.
A high-octane skater soars to new heights in a high-flying stunt.
If you don't know what you're doing, you could break your neck.
And a daring long-distance freefall sets a wingsuit world record.
You have to be very skilled. This is not a world record I would recommend a lot of people try to break.
Whether fact, fake, or fluke, we'll dissect these amazing web videos and break down the science behind them. Right now, on Superhuman Science. In Utah, USA, a lone rock climber attempts a perilous feat, scaling the cracked rock face of a towering spiral, 67 meters above the desert floor.
Every decision here is crucial, and one bad decision could be the difference between life and death.
Her only tools are her bare hands and wits. No safety gear and no climbing partner.
These cliffs, they're almost straight up and down, and the fact that she does it without a rope, just mind-blowing.
She makes it safely to the summit, but then she gears up to take the fast way down with a breathtaking base jump to the earth below. This hardcore solo or free climber and base jumper is Stephanie Davis. She's a veteran of some of the most dangerous summits in the world.
It's almost like you feel the urge to do it just because you can. I know I can do that free solo and it's going to be great. And I know I can make that base jump and do it safely, and I'm gonna love it.
So how does she do it? Our experts look at the science of solo or free climbing.
She first has to have the right arm strength and leg strength to propel herself up the rock face.
These ledges are just enough for maybe a centimeter or two of coverage with your fingers, and so your fingers have to hold your body weight.
Scaling rock faces where every crack and ledge is unique takes extra agility.
The places she would need to grab with her hands or put her feet, they're sporadic.
You can see her here struggling to reach to the next ledge and able to do it because she has extremely impressive flexibility.
If the rock is not stable or sturdy, that could be fatal. It could crumble under her.
Continuous climbing is a feat of extreme physical endurance. It takes its toll on her mind and body.
This takes a great deal of stamina. It's difficult to make decisions when your life is on the line. It's even more difficult to make the right decisions when your life is on the line and you're exhausted. And that's exactly what's happening here.
As Stephanie climbs, she relies on focused concentration and mind control to stay alive.
It has to be only the positive outcome in your brain. Like what I learned from myself is I can't be on a solo and start to think about falling. Because if I do, it's all bad. And you can't even say, I won't fall, because still you have fall. So what you have to say is, I will stay on the rock.
This monster climb also requires keen senses, and clearly Stephanie's are sharper than most.
You use several senses here. You use your vision, your sense of touch, but in addition, there's a proprioception here that is extremely important.
Proprioception, or the sixth sense, is the body's subconscious ability to sense movement and spatial orientation.
You can't always see exactly what you have your hand on or what you have your foot on. You have to depend on feeling there and knowing that that ledge is going to support your weight. It's natural. She feels for the next ledge, grabs onto the next ledge. It's second nature to her.
This could be part of what sets Stephanie's ability apart from the rest of us, along with her adrenaline-fueled need to take dangerous risks, like adding a free fall to her free climb.
I would get to the top and I would be like, I'm ready to just be done in a way. But then boom, now it's pull out the base rig, turn off the climber brain, turn on the base jumper brain.
Stephanie Davis is one of the world's leading female climbers, but is she superhuman? Our experts think so.
This might be superhuman. Not many people could do this. It's definitely super fearless and super daring.
This is absolutely superhuman.
From a double dose of death-defying we jump next to a high-flying skateboard stunt. In California, USA, one of the most daring skaters in the world catches an epic helicopter ride to face off with this dangerous mega ramp.
If you mess up a trick while you're at the top of that half pipe, you're falling a long way onto a hard surface.
If you don't know what you're doing, you could break your neck.
Minutes later, he shoots back up into the air, onto the skids of a hovering helicopter, and flies away.
And then you just see his skateboard just fall to the ground and bounce down.
The skater is Bob Burnquist. He holds the record for the most medals in the history of the X Games. This is his private backyard, arguably the largest skate ramp in the world.
Once you have the freedom to do whatever you want, it's amazing what actually comes out if you really want to have some fun.
But even he admits this trick was different.
The scariest of all of the tricks was that one.
So how does he do it? Our experts look at skater science.
There's a lot of engineering design that goes into creating these ramps so that you'll have enough speed to make it all the way to the top of one of those inclines.
The physics involved here is the conservation of energy. You have kinetic energy when you're moving, and potential energy when energy has a potential to do something.
Up top, Bob has all potential energy, and he can use gravity to help move faster on the way down. At the bottom, it's all kinetic energy.
This system actually restarts each time he begins atop and heads down one ramp. All he has to do is complete that to one side, and by then turning around and coming back down, gravity's starting over.
The key is not to lose energy at the bottom.
We usually look at a skateboarder as a simple projectile. Figure out the angle, the velocity, not too much to it. But to add the helicopter in, all right, that's pretty cool.
To make the spectacular jump to the helicopter, Bob needs to reach a precise speed.
The quarter pipe is 7.6 meters high. It has to be going 13.7 meters per second at the bottom to make it all the way up there at the helicopter.
I remember it was like, okay, I can't really get there. I don't have enough speed. I'm gonna have to, jump, do a 360 and pump for, 16-foot air.
For each of the attempts he makes, he kind of pumps each time to add more speed and add more height, until finally at the end he has enough speed and enough energy to make it there.
Bob Burnquist is a skateboard giant and innovator, but does that make him superhuman? Our experts are divided.
To do a stunt and grab onto the helicopter like that, that's superhuman.
The super thing about this is how much effort and thought he put into designing all of this. It's really super science.
From a half-pipe chopper ride, we flip next to a high-gliding long-distance jump into the record books. And still ahead, illusionist David Blaine endures a jolt of vaults in a shocking stunt. And a do-it-yourself engineer tests fate and gravity as he runs circles around his invention. The US Army Golden Knights parachute team is attempting a risky record-breaking mission.
We went out to Altus Air Force Base, Oklahoma, to set a new world record for the furthest distance in free fall while wearing a wingsuit.
This is not a world record I would recommend a lot of people try to break.
It's really a brave, ridiculous sort of feat to go after.
Staff Sergeant Ben Borgia's freefall starts aboard a C-17 cargo plane. Ben and the plane hit an altitude of almost 10,000 meters just before he jumps.
I disconnected my oxygen hose from the aircraft, and they started counting down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So what he's trying to do is stay aloft as long as humanly possible to get as much distance as possible between him and the door of the airplane.
Ben freefalls for more than 6 minutes and 35 seconds before he deploys his chute.
And when he's done, he's actually gone 18.5 kilometers, which is a new world record.
That's more than 2 kilometers beyond the previous record. An amazing freefall distance. So, how did he do it? Our experts dive into the science.
There's a lot of science involved here, and part of it is the falling aspect.
There are a couple of different forces working on him. As he leaves the jet, there's air resistance and then gravity is pulling him down during his descent.
The suit gives you a lift to battle against the gravity, so you're actually using the air molecules as a form of support.
All wingsuits have webbing between the legs and under the arms. The webbing has special air ducts which vent air. The force of the air inflates the membranes and they become semi-rigid.
It is similar to wings, just not quite the flappable kind like birds have, more like the gliding planes that you might throw off yourself into the air.
So you have to realize what a wingsuit provides that a simple parachute does not. The wingsuit allows much more control while in the air. If he were to ball up like a cannonball, he would start reaching his terminal velocity based on his mass and acceleration pulling him down towards Earth. By remaining in the spread eagle position and having that membrane between his arms and his legs, he's catching the air just like a very, very small parachute.
So they have some ability to control their speed and direction, which can let them pull off some very specific maneuvers.
You make small movements of your arms, and played out over a long distance, those can cause you to divert quite a bit from your path left or right. So he can actually steer around objects, provided they're not coming at him too quickly.
Ben skillfully maneuvers around clouds to avoid planes and takes advantage of hot air that rises from the ground.
He's influenced by thermals and other wind patterns. If the wind is blowing up, it's going to keep him aloft longer. If the wind is blowing down, it's going to be bad for him.
But an ultimate factor in Ben's success might be the speed of the plane.
It's all about how high he is when he starts that tells him how fast he can go.
He jumped from a moving plane. The faster that plane was moving, the faster his momentum at the time of his release.
So the key here is the faster your jet, the further you go.
Altogether, this mission was a success. Without the people that made this possible, this mission wouldn't have been a success.
Ben is an expert in a wingsuit, and the record he and his team set is extraordinary. But our experts stopped short of calling this superhuman.
It's super cool and super fun, but not quite superhuman.
From a record wingsuit flight, we move next to an electrifying high-voltage illusion. In New York City, illusionist David Blaine braves a potentially deadly lightning storm. 1 million volts of electricity jolt him repeatedly, and he is still standing.
It's very dangerous to be doing these stunts playing with electricity because it can kill you.
The goals of his stunts are to really test the limits of his body, and that's exactly what he does every time.
After a fierce 72-hour electrical assault, he's weak, but still very much alive.
Clearly, this took a toll on his body, and he had to exit the stunt and go to the hospital.
David Blaine is on the edge of being superhuman. He's pushed his body to the limit, and it's pretty incredible.
So is this real or an elaborate illusion?
No one could be in the situation and live through it.
Clearly he's doing this in front of a live audience, so video manipulation isn't happening here. But he's an illusionist, so there's some sort of light play happening.
He's inside this machine that is basically zapping him with lightning bolts. Why isn't he dead?
Our experts take a closer look at the science behind this high-voltage stunt.
It's not the voltage that matters, it's the current running through your body. Because the volts is equal to the current times the resistance. Everybody has a certain resistance in their body, and it's the actual charge moving through you, the current, that will kill you.
When the body gets hit with a strong current, the central nervous system is overloaded. Brain tremors and paralysis can strike, and if the current is forceful enough, the heart stops.
The body has its own rescue mechanism, and your heart basically stops beating for a while. And if you can receive medical attention in enough time, you can be resuscitated.
Current is measured in milliamps. For humans, a jolt of between 100 and 200 milliamps is deadly.
If you're exposed to 1,000,000 volts, you might have 1,000 ohms of resistance in your body. That means you're experiencing a current of 1,000 amps or 1,000,000 milliamps. There's no way you'd survive that for 72 hours. You wouldn't survive that for a second.
In this stunt, the electricity is real, yet he is not electrocuted. So how does he overcome a shock of 1 million volts?
The only way to survive a situation like this is to increase your resistance to the current flowing through this situation.
And that's what keeps him alive through this stunt. He wears a chainmail metal bodysuit to boost his resistance to current.
It's basically a safe room for your body.
It's called a Faraday cage, and it protects him from any deadly shock.
The voltage hits the metal, and then it gets dissipated throughout the entire mesh structure. And what that means is there's no current flowing through on the inside, and that's why he can survive.
So the painful part of this stunt isn't electric shocks. He's weak from spending days in a 27-kilogram metal seat.
He's standing up there for hours on end, 72 hours, without food, and that is actually physically draining for a body.
This is my last endurance stunt that I'm ever gonna do.
David Blaine is a spectacular endurance artist, but is he superhuman? Our experts are mixed.
I think he is superhuman because he challenges the ability of the body to tolerate many different environments.
He's a super illusionist and a superstar performer, but he's not superhuman.
From a shocking illusion, we flip next to a human shot in the dark. It's a circus act classic. A human daredevil and a giant cannon take center stage. A final wave and a drop down the barrel. Then a big bang. And she shoots out a human cannonball. The human cannonball is Eliana Grace with Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. It's a thrilling stunt.
The stunt is really a combination of physics, human ability, agility, and more than just a little dose of fearlessness.
We all know exploding cannons usually kill. So how is this stunt possible?
While they make it look like a cannon, this isn't a real cannon she's coming out of.
That smoke and the bang, that's obviously for effect.
It's some kind of mechanical spring-loaded platform that pushes her out.
You wouldn't survive being launched out of a real cannon, okay? And you certainly wouldn't look this good doing it.
Still, that doesn't mean it's not dangerous. Human cannonballs can reach speeds of up to 112 kilometers per hour and travel as far as 61 meters.
In this cannonball stunt, the woman becomes the projectile. She's not trying to launch something, the cannon's launching her.
Several critical factors ensure a soft landing for our human cannonball.
The angle of the cannon is important. If you notice, it's around like 45 degrees. And that's the maximal angle for giving you the biggest height and also covering the most ground.
It takes a team that you trust that can put together the right projectile force to get her across at the appropriate angle.
Yet the tiniest change in any of the variables could cause a debilitating crash landing.
When the cannon pushes her out, it pushes her out with a little bit of torque so that she can actually flip herself over to land on her back.
A spectacular feat all round. But does this make Eliana superhuman?
It's pretty cool to see her actually become the projectile in the physics equation.
I don't know that I would qualify this as superhuman, but it's absolutely super graceful.
Finally, from our human mortar shell, we shift to a homemade stunt with its creator climbing the walls. In Stamford, England, backyard inventor and amateur stuntman Colin Furze gets an idea.
What we're doing, we're gonna build a wall of death.
Now this is the kind of at-home tinkerer that I like. Why not build your own arena of death?
We started from a blank lawn and just started stacking these wooden shipping pallets.
850 wooden pallets to be exact, with a riding surface made of thin plywood.
Beds up, ready to go. We're gonna lower her into the bowl. Then some idiot's gonna run right around it.
Colin test drives his wall of death.
Something about that moped makes him really just go straight to my heart.
So how's this possible and what will it take to work? Our experts take a closer look.
In order for him to go around in a circle on this wall of death, he has to be balancing a couple different forces.
The centripetal force that his motorcycle exerts on the wall has to counter the force of gravity that is pulling him downward.
The faster the speed, the bigger that force is going to be.
Our daredevil inventor tries several times to make it to the top.
The wall is about 4.3 meters high. It's about 4.9 meters in radius. And we know that based on his mass, he needs to go about 40 kilometers per hour to make this all work. If he isn't experiencing a big enough force, he's not going to be able to stay up on the wall.
And then he crashes. He's shaken but not hurt.
Oh, she'll go.
Not enough to stop him from trying again. This time, he increases his speed.
When it didn't work, it's because he wasn't going fast enough. When he has a faster speed, he's pushing into the wall more, and the wall is pushing back. It's also giving him the right friction to stay up. He has to be angled slightly so that he's kind of pushing into the wall, and the wall's pushing up with friction, and he's balancing all the torques that are acting on him to stay stable and go around the circle.
On his second try, he makes it to the top of his wall of death.
If you stop the tape right there, you can see how he starts getting higher and higher up that wall of death.
Colin's feats are impressive, but our experts stop short of calling this superhuman.
I don't know if this guy's superhuman, but he is super creative.
I wouldn't call him superhuman, but I would call him super inventive.